Hi everyone, it's Refresh, and I am here to take a look at Magic the Gathering Chandra Pyrogenius Planeswalker deck. This is a product that was released with Kaladesh, and it replaces the intro decks of previous Magic the Gathering sets with a deck that contains several unique cards, including a Planeswalker here. According to the back, it comes with a ready-to-play 60-card deck featuring a foil premium Chandra Pyrogenius Planeswalker card, 2 Kaladesh 15-card booster packs, a strategy insert, and a Magic quick reference card. So this is one of 2 decks that they release with every set, and let's take a look at what we get inside here. Alright. Some pretty nice packaging here. So the Planeswalker card is stuck in the front. It's easy to get out of this plastic case. There's a little bit of bend to her, and everything else comes in this box, which I believe doubles as a card box, which is nice. You've got the rest of your deck, and 2 Kaladesh booster packs. You've got a quick reference guide, and if you've opened any amount of Magic the Gathering product, you will probably be familiar with this, but it gives you all the different steps and parts of return and all that business. It's pretty useful for new players just to remind yourself what you're doing in each of the phases and then how to read the cards, but that's about all that's there. It's still a fairly simple guide, but since this Planeswalker deck is really an introductory product, it makes sense for this to be in here. You also get a guide to the deck here. It gives you a little bit of strategy on how to play the deck and what you can do to improve the deck. It gives you the full deck list here and just a lot of Chandra right there. On the back it tells you a little bit more about your character that you purchased here, and then some other things that you can buy. I think it would be nice if there were just a little bit more strategy here, because it just gives you a real basic rundown of what you can do with the deck, but I wish it would go through and sort of tell you what purpose these different cards play in the deck and how to play this deck on curve, and I think that would be very helpful for a newbie who's just opening this deck and trying to figure out what you're doing with this thing. So I do like that there are some really brief mentions of combinations here, but I do think that perhaps a stronger guide on what you're doing with this deck, like an actual deck tech, would be useful here. Anyway, I'm going to suit this up, play some games, and then I'll be back with an evaluation of this deck. So I played some games with this deck, both against its sparring partner Nissa, and as well as against the challenge decks from Theros, and I've come to some conclusions. The games you can find linked in the description box below. I'll also put a card in the upper right hand corner for your convenience. But first, let's take a look at the curve here. As you can see, there are a large number of non-creature spells. The vehicles will count as non-creature spells because they're a lot more akin to equipment than they are to actual creatures, because they don't work without a creature. So a few things about the curve. It's a lower curve. There's only 1 6-drop, there's 3 5-drops, and then everything else is in the 2, 3, and 4 range, with just a couple spells in the 1-drop range. As you can see, there is a very strong vehicles theme to this deck, in addition to Chandra having a little bit here. Many of these spells here I do think make sense in this deck in some way or another, but not everything does, and I kind of wish that this deck were a little bit more focused in what it was trying to do, and that there was never a question of why a certain card is present. So, for example, I think that all of the 2-drops make sense, but amongst the rest of the creatures, I don't quite understand what the 3/3 with Haste Brazen Scourge is doing in here, as well as the Weldfast Monitor, both of which could have been replaced with perhaps another Speedway Fanatic and another Gearshift Ace. Similarly, the Snarethopter and the Sky Swirl Harrier, as welcome as they are as flyers, I don't really feel like they contribute much to this deck, when what you really need are more ways of crewing these vehicles. I think in terms of the vehicles, they actually are a pretty good combination of options. The only real weak one, I think, is the Oval Chase Dragster, as it is just a little bit too much on the weak side as a 6/1 Trampler. It really just feels like it's a bad ball lightning more than anything else. But aside from that, the vehicles are quite good. I appreciate the Flame Lashes here. The other two cards here that I think are particularly weak are the Cathartic Reunion and the Fateful Showdown, both of which do let you discard and draw, and it sort of teaches you a little bit about Red's discard and draw rummaging effect, but I'm not sure that they are especially helpful in this particular deck when perhaps more removal would be useful here. Now, some of the nicer touches that aren't really that apparent are the Trusty Companions and the Aerial Responders. The Trusty Companions are nice because they actually provide a way to crew bigger vehicles with cheaper cards, and because they're vigilant, you could attack with them on your turn and then block with them on your opponent's attack step. And so that's nice. Similarly, the Aerial Responders work in the same way. And so the Vigilance actually is something that you are happy to have in this deck. I also kind of wish that there was another Speedway Fanatic and a Gear Shift Ace to really press that vehicle's advantage that this deck offers. And I would, again, exchange that with the Brazen Scourge and the Wealth Fast Monitor. The other thing about this deck that I really didn't like was the fact that there are 25 lands in this deck. With such a lower curve, I think that this deck could really go with 24 lands, not 25. I do think that the deck has this weird thing going on because some of these vehicles are so expensive compared to the creatures that come out. You kind of want the vehicles to be out first, and so I kind of think that, again, the best vehicle here is the Renegade Freighter over these other vehicles. And I kind of wish that the entire deck pushed even further towards the lower end of the curve so that it felt more aggressive. Aside from those small weaknesses, I do feel like this particular deck really gets across the theme of vehicles quite well. Even though Chandra doesn't really fit into that, Chandra, Liberating Combustion, the Flame Lashes, and the Renegade Firebrands do kind of add a Chandra-esque theme to the deck. I do wish that there was just a little bit more Chandra to the Renegade Firebrands to make it feel like they were on theme either with the vehicles or with her, but that is probably the only real criticism I have regarding the Chandra part of this deck. If you enjoyed this video, hit like. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. And this was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.